What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and we have a special video today for you today. Just talking about everything going on in Nebraska football, but specifically, we're talking about some of the transfers, some of the visitors over this weekend. I delayed the video that was supposed to come out on Friday, but I delayed this video to Sunday so we could just talk about the visitors coming in. Also, a couple guys coming back to the roster that were in the portal or just were off the team that we're going to talk about. And just some other notes that we'll talk about in the show. So, without further ado, let's get started. I want to really quickly talk about two of our transfer gets over the last week. The first one being MJ Sherman out of Georgia, linebacker. And immediately, the first thing I think when I see this guy is athletic. I mean, you look at his tape. I watched a lot of his high school tape. Again, he didn't play too much at Georgia. He had some playing time in the national championship and some other some other games. He was really good on special teams for them. But really, we watch his high school tape. Athletic. He's a freak, and that's what I've talked about over and over again. Kind of on what I want for our linebacker core. You know, we have really solid linebackers who can make plays and make tackles, but they aren't athletic freaks that we used to have. Guys like Levante David who can go anywhere on the field and can chase down running backs. We haven't had those guys. We've had unathletic linebackers who are just sure tacklers. That's about it. But when it comes to stopping running backs in the run game and going moving laterally, they can't do that. And MJ Sherman definitely can. And just looking at his career stats, again, he's been in college for 3 years. He's a junior. I think he only has 2 years left of eligibility, but he only had 5 tackles this year and a half of a sack. But again, nothing to sneeze at there. I mean, it's not amazing, but you just look at his athleticism. And again, Georgia's a great defense, right? It's not easy to climb up the ranks. I think he will play immediately here in Nebraska. The second guy who we got just recently, I think we picked him up on Friday, right? Arik Gilbert. Now this one, woo! I mean, that's what we got to talk about. I mean, Arik Gilbert. This dude was a 5-star recruit in the class of 2020. He was one of the best recruits in the country. He won Gatorade Player of the Year, I believe, one of his years in high school. I mean, this dude was a freak, right? And he initially commits to LSU. He actually played pretty good at LSU. He had about 300 yards in his first season, a couple touchdowns. He played really solid. Then he transfers out. He was homesick or whatnot. Had a little coincidence, or not a coincidence, but had a little run-in with Florida. He wanted to commit to Florida. Something happened. Didn't commit to Florida. Then went to UGA and just did not play at UGA throughout the last 2 years. When I talk about Arik Gilbert, it's just, again, from a athleticism standpoint, from a talent standpoint, this dude has it all. All right, he's 6'6", 260. I mean, he's a freak. He's a freak. And if you watch him, you watch his LSU tape, he shows you why he was a 5-star recruit. It's just everything that goes off the field. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Zavier Betts. It's kind of unfair to compare the two, and we'll talk about Zavier Betts later in this episode. It's unfair to compare the two, but they're very similar. Really talented guys, but they just can't figure it out off the field. Really, some people were saying with Gilbert in specific that a lot of it was mental health and just he couldn't get down the playbook and he had some run-ins with teammates. So again, this is a guy who really, if he can figure it out off the field and Rule, because it's not going to be easy, but if Rule and the staff can really make a concerted effort to kind of control him off the field and get him in the right space to succeed on the football field, he absolutely will, and he'll be a guy who could potentially play on Sundays. So that's a really it's an interesting get. I wouldn't call it an A+ get. I wouldn't call it a B+ get. I'd rate around the C range if I were grading it on a A to F scale. A lot of people saw the get and they saw 5 stars and they said, "Oh my gosh, what a moment!" I mean, Matt Rule really pulling these guys in. Like, how many teams in the country really wanted to read Gilbert? Not many, I bet. I mean, seriously. I mean, this is his third, technically, maybe even fourth team if you count Florida, in his 3-year career in college. I mean, not good. Again, and a lot of it, and I saw this tweet, but basically they were comparing film of him at LSU versus like 2 years later at Georgia, and they were comparing practice film. They were basically saying that his practice film at Georgia looked worse than what it was when he was a true freshman at LSU. So they were kind of pondering whether or not he's damaged goods, and I absolutely believe he's damaged goods, but a lot of times damaged goods can be saved if they're around good coaches and they're around a good culture. So hopefully we can turn Arik Gilbert around. One last note on him. I would say he is the definition of a high ceiling, low floor guy. He is, again, possibility to play on Sundays, but there's also a possibility that he won't play a game this season. He'll be off the roster going into 2024. So, I mean, that's how risky of a get it is. But, yeah. And then last but not least, I really wanted to touch on Walter Rouse really quickly. I know I made a video about him last Saturday. And basically, my instant analysis, a lot of Oklahoma fans saw that video, and they're coming at me because I mentioned that OU had some more money involved. Apparently, according to Rouse and according to some Oklahoma people, that wasn't the reason why he flipped. I'm not 100% sure. That's what I heard, was that it was a money aspect. Again, I was kind of just throwing numbers around there. I wasn't sure how much that is. Even if it was money, I guarantee money had to play. I guarantee it. Absolutely guarantee it. But all the other features, such as, but hear me out. All right. The whole Oklahoma, like Oklahoma fans try to make the argument that, he just got persuaded that Oklahoma's a better program. No, and that's not the reason why, because those are the kind of pitches that Oklahoma brought to him initially, right? Something changed just like that. That's what happens when you flip recruits. It's not something like Oklahoma, we're a better university, you need to come to us and then flip, right? No, because he's already been hearing that, right? They gave him something that he didn't hear before, and that's money. That's usually money, like that, because that's what causes flips. So like all the Oklahoma fans being like, oh no, they just convinced him that we're going to get in the NFL and that we're a better program. Like, he already knew that. That wasn't new information to him. That wasn't enough to get him to flip, because if he already knew that the first time and really was intrigued by it, he wouldn't have committed to Nebraska initially. So I hope you understand what I'm saying there, but that whole argument that Oklahoma fans are trying to bring up, it's not true, and it doesn't make sense. Again, money had to play a part, and I'm not saying it played the entire part. There might have been something else going on. There might have been a girl involved. I'm being straight up. That's a lot of college recruits have that in their mind. It might have been family. It might have been whatever, right? I don't know, but that's what played a part in it. Not that Oklahoma was a better program, and that's how they convinced them. Like, no, okay, that's not how flips work. So I just really want to touch on that, and that's basically the transfer portal. There's one other guy I want to talk about, and again, we're gonna talk about all the visitors this weekend. But there's one transfer visitor, and that is Jacob Hood, also coming from Georgia. Again, a lot of Georgia guys have been coming on visits as of recently. This guy is an offensive lineman, class of 2021. He's 6'8". Yes, you heard that right. He's 6'8", 350 pounds. He was a 4-star recruit in the class of 2021. Really hasn't played at all at Georgia, but again, when you see 6'8" and 340, and it's this big, massive individual, and I know a lot of you are probably saying, "Oh, but that's what Bryce Benhart is." This dude's pure muscle. I mean, you just look at a picture. Bryce Benhart. No offense to Bryce Benhart, and I hope you're not watching this, Bryce, but like, you look at him, he's kind of lanky. He doesn't really, he doesn't really give off the big vibe. Yeah, he's big and tall, but he's not big, right? You know what I mean? Jacob Hood, the guy who's coming on a visit from Georgia, he is big. He's not only tall, but he is massive. And there was a photo I wish I could put on the screen of him taking his visit here this weekend, and damn, huge individual. So, yeah, I really think that would be a nice get. Again, he hasn't played in his career, which worries me, especially on the O-line, given that we need instant contributors. But again, what can you do? He would be a nice addition, especially in a room that just kind of needs bodies at this point and needs competitors. So we'll see about that. All right, yeah, I want to talk about all the rest of the visitors. Starting off with number one, this guy has been probably number one talked about recruit as of recently, Demetrius Bell. So basically, Matt Rule, I should set the context first. He's a 4-star recruit coming out of Tennessee, athlete, 6'1", 180 pounds. I don't know what position he's going to play here. I'd assume it's on the defense because we already have 4 wide receiver signees. But again, he's an athlete. And Matt Rule had an at-home visit with him this week. He came on an official visit this weekend and had a couple crystal balls. I mean, it would be a really, really nice get. He is going to play defensive back here for us if we do land him, which I believe we will. Again, that's nice. And he's a 4-star recruit. He's an athlete. He's really versatile. He was originally committed to Michigan State before he decommitted. So that's a guy to watch, and I really expect him to commit, honestly, within the week. And so next time we make a video, I expect to be breaking him down even further because I think he'll be committed. Second guy we have on a visit this week is Ishmael Smith Flores, tight end out of Martin High School in Texas. That's actually where our new tight end coach, Bob Wager, is from Martin, Texas. And, of course, this is his tight end. So if Smith Torres does come here, he'll have the same coach at the same position, which will be nice. But he will come here. I believe that pretty confidently as well. This guy was forecasted to go to Iowa basically the last couple months. But, again, his old high school head coach came over to Nebraska and said, "Hey, man, I want you here under my position group." And I don't think he's going to pass it down again. He is 6'5", 210 pounds. Just again another nice little player there. He's not really ranked. He's a 3-star, 87, according to 247's metrics. Not overall, but 24/7. That's the grade for, or not 87 is the grade for him. But so not like an amazing recruit according to 24/7 here, but. And I again, once he commits, I'll dive deeper into the tape of him. I just really want to break it down that he is visiting. Another one that's coming is Sua Lafodu, who is class of 2023. And I really want to see what we're recruiting him as, but he's out of California as a 3-star recruit. Again, not really an amazing 3-star recruit. They have him out of the top 1,000, but man, I there's one thing I've talked about a little bit on this channel, but the Polynesian pipeline. If we can get that going, and this guy again is a Polynesian. He's coming out of California. I don't want to go on a tangent here, but the amount of Polynesian talent that every team in the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, Big 12 misses out on every year is unbelievable. And they all go to the Pac-12. And they all go to teams like Utah, and they go to USC, and they go to Washington and Oregon, and these kids are balling out. Really, and there's so many of them, and they're all, you know what they are? They're playing O-line, they're playing D-line, and most notably, they're playing linebacker. So if we can tap into that, and that's why I was so disappointed when Tony Tuioti left, because he was kind of our passageway into the Polynesian pipeline. So hopefully with a guy like Raiola, who is Polynesian, we can still keep digging in that pipeline. Again, I don't know if we're recruiting him as D-line or O-line. I'd assume it is D-line because we already have 5 commits on the offensive line. But that's another guy. And the last guy who is visiting this weekend is Aaron Hampton, 2024 recruit. What is he? I think, he's a 4-star wide receiver. And this guy's been a little busy recently. He was just at Alabama a couple weeks ago. He's at Texas. He actually has a couple crystal balls to Alabama that he just recently got. This is the same guy, by the way, who tweeted out to Dylan Raiola that he was ready whenever he was basically to commit to Nebraska. That is this guy. Again, a really good recruit. I think we're recruiting him as a wide receiver. I do believe, but again, 6'10", 180. I've watched a little bit of his film. Again, speedy, and that's something that you'll see early. You see it with the 2023 signees that we have at wide receiver. All of them got speed on them, and that's something that Rule really likes, and that's something Marcus Satterfield really likes. Again, this guy is nothing to sneeze at. He's a top 100 recruit in the country, and I firmly believe that he will commit to us if Dylan Raiola does commit to us, and that's a whole other conversation. I don't really want to get to Dylan Raiola into this video because I feel like I've been talking about him a lot lately, but again, if you land him, you can get anybody you want in this class, in the 2024 class. So that's the last visitor this weekend, that being Aaron Hampton. I really want to talk about some of the players coming back. There's three, or I should say two in stone, that being IGC, Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda, or I always butcher that last name, and then Zavier Betts, of course. So we're going to break down both of those, and then I'll talk about Keeks Thompson a little bit at the end. First off, we're talking about IGC. IGC played pretty good again this season. He only played a little bit. He played against Northwestern. He had the first touchdown catch of the season in contested coverage. I would just, the whole situation with him entering the transfer portal was really weird to me. You know, he entered it mid-season. He was unhappy with lack of playing time, I guess. And it was kind of a blow to our receiver corps because he was a really solid player. And it was really nice to have rotation. And having a bag, again, another weapon we have a really stacked receiver room. Not stacked from a talent perspective, but just a lot of bodies in there. He's nice to have. Again, my initial reaction to him being back was, it was a met. Like, this dude wasn't amazing enough for me to be freaking out. Oh my goodness, he's coming back. But he was noticeable enough when he played that this is. I want to bring up a stats real quick, that he is going to make an impact again. I think he's a senior going into this year. But yeah, how many? Again, he only had 5 catches actually this year for us. That feels low. But he had 120 yards. 120 yards, and of course that one touchdown. But again, I really like him. Again, his whole situation with him entering the portal was really weird. I remember somebody said they were talking to his parents basically like a week before he entered the portal, and his parents were at the game, right? And they were saying how much they loved Lincoln and how his son loved Lincoln. And a week later, they talked to him again, and he's out. He was entering the portal, so that was really surprising, and glad he's back. Now the second one, and this is where it gets a little dicey, and I can get a little controversial here. Zavier Betts is back. Oh my, how do I feel about this? So I talked about Zavier Betts in one of my more recent videos, and I talked about him coming back and the potential of that. He's officially back. The only thing I'd say about this is, why did he have to be on scholarship? You know, I want to talk about it last in the video, but we have a massive problem with scholarships. We have 97 players on a roster on scholarship. You can only have 85. 14 of those players are on the wide receiver corps. Way too much. Zavier Betts, in my opinion, did not deserve to be on scholarship again. And again, it's not written in stone that he is on scholarship. That's just speculative. He could easily be on walk-on right now. I don't know. I'm just assuming he is because I saw on 3 or on Rivals, I saw a scholarship distribution chart, and I'd sure hope that Sean Callahan or some of those other guys know what they're talking about here. But I just don't understand why we had to put him on scholarship. Because first off, he wasn't amazing enough here. Like, again, he's a talent, but he wasn't amazing enough here to take him back on scholarship after he hasn't played football in a year. Second thing is that he wasn't going Power 5. Like, if he didn't come here, you know where he would have went? Probably FCS. So it wasn't, you could have got him as a potential walk-on. You really could have. So that doesn't make any sense to me, especially when we're already at a scholarship problem. I don't know if there's a deal involved. I don't know if he's not actually on scholarship, but if he is, that's a problem to me. All right, I'd rather save that scholarship spot than roll the dice on Betts, who we know is risky. We know is risky. And there's a chance that Zavier Betts makes the league here. There's a chance. There's also a chance that he flames out and does the exact same thing he did the first time. He doesn't study. He doesn't work hard in the classroom. He doesn't work hard learning film and learning the playbook and learning the offense. Again, that could very well happen again. And at some point, again, he's going into his 4th year, in college. Again, he wasn't really in college the last year-ish, but he's going to his 4th year. Okay. At some point, you need to be expected to do things on your own and not have your hand be held. So hopefully he figures it around. Again, he is a talent. I keep saying that. He runs a 4.4 speed. He's big and tall. Again, he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. Scott Frost would do whatever it took to get the ball in this guy's hands, and this dude didn't know the playbook. He didn't know the playbook, but Scott Frost would put him in the game because he wanted to get the ball in his hands. So there is value in having him on the roster, but I don't know if the the reward overtakes the risk, and that involves putting a scholarship on. I don't think so. I'd rather have him on walk on. That's my only gripe with it. And again, that leads us into a bigger conversation that I really wanted to touch on is the issue of scholarships. Okay, again, I mentioned it just now. We have 97 players on the roster who are on scholarship. The NCAA cutoff is 85. Again, we have 97, 85. We need to trim 12 players, and that's not including potential transfers that we're about to get. So more likely or not, we're going to have to trim about 15 players. Now, I don't want to put players on blast here, and I will just like briefly on guys I think you need to cut a deal with, okay? And you basically give them one or two options. One, you got to play really good in spring ball, or else your scholarship's done. Or two, you just get them out, right? That's the deal. And I'm sorry, but we have no other choice, right? You either again play really well in spring ball and you retain your scholarship, or you're put on walk on, or you can just leave, right? That's it. So again, guys, like one thing that really irked me, and I'll mention this, like we have a Marco Ortiz, the transfer from Florida. Love him, really good long snapper. He doesn't need to be on scholarship though. He doesn't. When was the last time we had a long snapper on scholarship? I couldn't tell you because long snappers are not on scholarship. If you wanted to see, like, do you think Alabama has a long snapper on scholarship? They don't. I guarantee it. Okay. A lot of the long snappers that even get drafted into the NFL aren't on scholarship their entire college career. There's no point in having it. So that made absolutely no sense to me. Long snapper is so insignificant as a position, and I know people are gonna come to my comments and be like, "Oh, but the special teams issues, we need to ensure that everything goes right." I don't really think we've had too many problems with our long snapping in the last 5 years. So that was odd. I hope, again, I love, Ortiz, good guy, man. Again, I'm not coming at any of these guys personally. I'm just like, this is a business, right? Like, college football is a business. It's a multi-million-dollar business. You got to put wins on the win column, and you got to make tough decisions, okay? So, honestly, I don't know if he's on scholarship or not. It says here he is. You can't have a scholarship. All right? Another thing, we have two kickers currently on scholarship, that being Bleekrod and Alvano. I don't know what you got to do there, but whoever wins the kicker competition gets scholarship, the other one does. You can't have two kickers on scholarship. Moving on. Noah Pola-Gates. It's time, man. It's time. You're wasting a scholarship. Kobe Brett's another guy going to his third year. Haven't seen him play. Again, this is kind of a make or break it year for him. Looking at the cornerback room specifically, you got Braxton Clark. I mean, we're talking about a guy who hasn't played good since 2020. Tyreek Johnson hasn't done anything in his entire career. I mean, you got to say bye. You got it. Again, you got to make the hard decisions. Looking at nickel, Gage Stanger, again, going to his second year. I don't really know why we got him. Again, I'm not putting any of these guys on blast. I don't know why we got him originally, but he's the guy you got to step up over the next couple of years, or else he'll be in the same position as the other guys. Looking at linebacker, Garrett Snodgrass. And I really want to touch on Snodgrass really quick. I'm not coming. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. I'm not coming at anybody personally. Okay. But it kind of emphasizes a bigger problem within Nebraska football. That being the fact that Scott Frost kind of felt like he owed it to some of their former players or people around the state to take in-state kids and not get rid of them. Garrett Snodgrass has not played significant football in his entire career here, and he's going to be a senior. He's been on the roster for, I think he's going into his fifth year, I believe it is. How can that happen? You got to get rid of him. I'm sorry. And I don't know if that hurt. Again, Garrett Snodgrass, in-state kid, his dad's head coach in the high school ranks in Nebraska. But you can't keep a guy on scholarship who hasn't done anything. I mean, he's done nothing, and he's going to be a senior. And we have plenty of depth at linebacker. It's not like depth is an issue. So, there you go. I'm sorry. All right, another guy looking at linebacker. You got You got 3 guys in the class of 2020, that being Seth Malcolm, that being Randolph Kapai, and that being Makai Gabayer, right? Those guys, or I believe those guys are actually 2021 class. Yeah, those guys are class 2021. But anyways, those guys are, again, guys who haven't played their entire career. You got to step it up. This is a make or break year for all those guys. Looking at D-line. Nash is a guy who hasn't really played in his career, but Nash actually hasn't been redshirted. Never mind, I'm not going to say anything about Nash because Nash actually did get playing time this year and actually made plays. So never mind the Nash. So we're just going to skip O-line. Or D-line, I mean. Looking at O-line, Hunter Anthony. We got him in the transfer portal last year from Oklahoma State. He didn't even start, and he's not going to start again this year. Bye. I mean, bye, dude. You've been here. You've been on the roster for 1 year. You didn't play. You had a bunch of weight issues when you came on campus. You couldn't get your diet right. You had a bunch of bad weight. You're not going to play this year. Why waste a scholarship on a 6th-year senior who's not going to play? Let's open that up because we already are in a deficit of scholarships. But we look at the rest of the O-line, it's actually like you can't really cut any of the rest of the guys. You can't get rid of them because our O-line depth is so bad where you got to keep them around. Looking at tight end, Chris Hickman. And that hurts me. I like Chris Hickman. But, again, he's been injured his entire career. It feels like he's been on the roster for, I think he's going into his 5th year. He hasn't done anything, right? Like, he's always injured, and last year was kind of a year for him to step up, but he was injured again. And really, this year, I don't think he's going to start again. I think we'll see Arik Gilbert or Thomas Fedoni or A.J. Rollins even will start at tight end rather than him. So it's time for him to go. Looking at running back, again, we're not going to get rid of anybody at running back. Looking at wide receiver. Now, again, I mentioned we have 14 players on scholarship wide receiver. Far too many. Far too many. Again, guys you got to cut ties with. Again, I already mentioned, Betts should not be on scholarship. I'm happy Betts is back, but Betts should not be on scholarship. Wow, that's weird that Tommy Hill's a junior. That is weird because he was class of 2021. He was class of 2021. That's weird that he's a junior already. But Alante Brown, actually, like everyone loves Alante Brown for some reason. This dude barely played, and he was really hyped up. So I'm not saying to get rid of him, but I'm saying to make or break it here. Josh Fleeks, no reason why he's on scholarship. There's no reason. That's a bad decision by the staff. Again, there's a reason why they're coaching, and I'm not. But we literally got a 6th-year player from Baylor who hasn't really put up significant stats in the last 3 years, and we put him on scholarship. That was a bad move. That was an objectively a bad move to put him on scholarship. And there was we could live without him. So I don't really understand that one. Sean Hardy's a guy who needs to produce this year. Again, I'm not really trying to get rid of him though. But again, it's a freaking massive room. They gotta make some changes there. And looking at quarterback, last but not least, I'm sorry, Case Thompson's coming back. You gotta cut ties with one of the 3, either Logan Smothers, either Henrik Charberg, or Choberg. It gotta be right. There's no reason we need 6 scholarship quarterbacks. There's no reason we even need 5 scholarship quarterbacks, right? Honestly, you could cut ties with 2 of them. So, and ideally, honestly, Harburg's one of those guys, and unfortunately, Smothers is one of those guys because. And we'll start off with Smothers. Personally, I feel bad for Smothers. I want him to leave because I like him so much as a person, as a player, that I want him to go succeed somewhere else. And I think he's never going to start here. Going on to Harburg, I feel the exact same way. Except, in my opinion, I think Harburg's a worse quarterback. I don't think Harburg's the reason. I think the reason Logan's never going to start here is because we're always going to have better guys ahead of him, and especially if Raiola comes, he's never going to start. Harburg specifically, I just don't think he has, it to start. And I had that same opinion when we originally got him committed. I didn't really love the get. So, again, that's my breakdown of guys who need to step up and guys who the staff might need to cut ties with or basically cut a deal with them and say, hey, you either do this in spring ball or you're gone. Because we are in a deficit when it comes to scholarship. We need to get rid of some guys. We need to. There's no playing around. There's no, we can. No, you need it because this is college football. And this is what teams around the country do every year. They make hard decisions. They cut guys, just like the NFL, right? So there we go. And again, none of those guys. I wasn't coming at any of them personally. I wasn't doing any of that. It was just a matter of hey, this is a business, right? And you can enter the portal and try your luck somewhere else, but we need to do us and put ourselves in the best position to win. So yeah, that was a pretty long tangent. Last but not least, we had a couple early enrollees. Only 5 of them are confirmed. There might be a couple more. Nobody made an article about that this year. I thought that was really weird. Like in the class of 2021, they were like, "Oh my goodness, we have so many early enrollees. This is so beneficial." And they said the same thing for 2022. 2023 rolls around and nobody's talking about it. Like, I mean, I'm still intrigued to see who's early enrolling. We still don't have official confirmation on who is, but and the Nebraska Twitter page basically posted a photo of some guys moving in. So I can confirm 5 guys. That being Cameron Lenhart, the 4-star out of Florida. He's defensive end. Dwight Boodle at corner. I'm definitely going to butcher this name. Snyder Safuale out of Florida, the cornerback. You got Maverick Noonan, of course, the in-state kid, the edge, and you got Gunnar Gatula, who is O-line. And I did butcher one Safula. His name's not Snyder. It's Sincere Safula. So there we go. But those are the early enrollees that are confirmed. There might be some more, but yeah. So that's what it is, guys. That is the episode today. Long episode, gonna end around 32 minutes. But hope you guys all enjoyed. Again, going over all the recruits, all the transfers, all the visitors. Expect videos every Friday. I know this video came out on Sunday, but again, if you like the content, please hit me with a like, hit me with a subscribe, comment. Really helps me out, especially just to gain some traction here. And I really like making videos for you guys. But yeah, thank you guys again for watching. Have a great Sunday, and as always, go Big Red.